So what we're going to cover is the wage subsidy opportunity, the conditions and exclusions around it, because obviously not everybody's eligible. So hopefully today you'll be able to figure out whether you are or not. There's some other linked funding that once you get this one, it unlocks it for you. But obviously, like I just said, not the short-term COVID relief. So the government is providing really amazing financial support at the moment, but most businesses don't even realize that they're eligible to claim it. So this wage subsidy is up to $28,000 over 12 months per employee. And there's no limit to the number of employees that you can put on for this. There is a limit in terms of what they need to be doing and things like that, but I will take you through what those requirements are. Some businesses are doing okay already, some are obviously not, but with this support, even if you're doing well, this is an opportunity to potentially grow your business, do new projects, all those sorts of things, get some additional payments into the system. So why are we doing it? First of all, it's our area of expertise. We've been living and breathing this stuff for quite a while, and we've been, as I've been telling people, just friends even, and they're like, oh, no, that sounds complicated. It's like, it really isn't once you know what you're doing. We're claiming it ourselves, and it's been great for our business. It's so nice to have that feeling of 12 months of financial certainty in terms of wages being covered and things, or at least wages being half covered. After the session, you might decide to get us to help you do it, which is fine, but I will make sure that I cover enough in this training that if you decide you just want to do it yourself, that's fine too. And the other thing that's kind of got a bit of a bee in my bonnet is that all the big companies are claiming it all, as usual with this stuff. You know, companies with HR departments and things like that are set up, and the instant the government brings out something, they jump in and grab it. So I'd like to try and balance that up a little bit if I can. So the background to this is, as you would probably remember, probably about a year ago, JobKeeper was coming to an end, and there were some flaws in JobKeeper. Like, it was great and it kept lots of businesses afloat, but employees were paid for not necessarily going to work, and there wasn't any value added. It didn't grow any skills for the workforce. So this subsidy this time was actually quite cleverly done. It's for training places. But it's for training, not tradies and not necessarily juniors. You just have to put your people on an approved course and you can claim this subsidy. That's the catch, really. You have to train them. So beginning of October last year, they brought out the wage subsidy for the first 100,000 training places. So it was a $2.8 billion investment with a B. And the government announced it 5th of October. And within the first month, 70,000 of those places were gobbled up by big companies for all their existing workers. So all these big companies put their entire workforce on it. Anyone who's been around for long enough to see what's happened in the past with some of the training funding is, you'll have seen that happen before with traineeships and things. So 3 weeks later, they tightened up the existing worker criteria, and there are now only limited courses that your permanent full-time staff can do, but I will talk to you about them because pretty much every business is going to be able to claim for at least one person unless you're a sole trader. So by May this year, 130,000 places had been used. And so the federal government uncapped it and made another 170,000 places available, another 2.7 billion, and extended the deadline for people to commence until March next year. However, as we know, things are changing all the time. There's different funding coming and going. So I wouldn't be holding out until March to claim it. Who knows whether it's still going to be around then. That's the intention at the moment. So the program, and before I tell you the name of the program, I want to say, don't have any preconceived ideas when you see the name. So it's called Boosting Apprenticeship Commencements, but it's not necessarily about apprenticeships and it's not necessarily about commencements. It does do boosting though. It's being administered under the traineeship and apprenticeship program, but it's not just for young people and it's not just for inexperienced people. You can have, mid-level people doing diplomas on it. It's a wage subsidy. If you're a business or you're a charity organisation, you're a council, you can be reimbursed up to 50% of the wages for your person who's enrolled in an approved course, and I'll tell you what the approved courses are in a moment, up to 28,000 over the year. So 7,000 per quarter. It's reimbursed quarterly. It's capped at that 7,000. If you pay them less than 14,000 a quarter, then you'll just get half of what you pay them. And it is for new work, all of your new employees, pretty much. So anybody that you started since middle of June, late June this year, would be eligible. And if you have started anybody in late June or in July, I'll tell you what you need to do because you need to get cracking on those ones. And anybody that you hire up until the end of March. So basically all of your employees that are new hires over this 12-month period, you should be claiming this subsidy for. And there are also some people who are existing workers who can claim it, which I will explain in a moment. The key condition is that they enroll in eligible courses. Now, just so that you know, it's a real thing. Here's a government letterhead piece of paper about it, saying that they put the 2.7 billion in. It's to encourage people to take on apprentices and trainees, but people make the mistake constantly of thinking apprentices and trainees have to be young and they have to be inexperienced. They don't. It's just terminology for someone who's doing an approved course. So it's win-win. I think one of the things that's happened is that since the whole pandemic and the lessons that we've learned from other countries, hopefully we've learned some of them, the government's really figured out that one of the ways to get through this is to keep on boosting employment and upskilling employees and making sure that businesses are sustainable. So it's really a benefit for everybody involved, including the government, because they are the ones who are going to be let me just, sorry, my screen share is misbehaving. I'll just get that out of the way. The government makes the unemployment figures look good. It's great for the economy. It's really good for employers because obviously we get half the wages paid and we get more skilled people, and it's great for employees. It makes them more employable, gives them a bit of job security at a time when things are pretty unsettled. Let me just check the chat and see what questions we've got. Okay, so first question, and please drop your questions in as you go. Do you get paid from the date they apply or from the date they start training? You get paid from the day that you basically notify the system that you have a person that wants to start. And then it's taking quite a long time to process at the moment because there's a lot of people going through it, but it will get backdated to the date that you flagged it. And how does the study work? Are they going to a course? I will cover that, but no, there's plenty of online courses around that you can do. You don't have to send them off to college, is the short answer. Okay, so eligibility from the employer's point of view, like I said, it's pretty much anybody except for state and federal governments, but any other organisation can claim. Anywhere in Australia, any kind of industry, any business size, except for sole traders. And Australian and New Zealand citizens are eligible. New Zealand citizens have to have been here for 6 months. You can probably tell by the sophisticated way that I pronounce my vowels that I'm not originally from here. Most of the New Zealand citizens have been here for 6 months now because we can't go back anyway, I think. And permanent residents are eligible too. And there are some other visas depending on the state and what the state, it's a federal system, but there's state rules like all of these things. And it includes your professionals and experienced staff as long as you're upskilling them. So you might have somebody really senior who you want to put on a diploma of leadership and management and develop their management skills and things. That's still fine. That's still included. Right, I did a quick calculation of the dollars. Well, actually, I pinched this calculation from someone else who had done it, got a bit carried away. But, you know, if you've got 5 people, then you could be claiming 140,000, even if you had to pay full fees for the courses, and you don't always. In a lot of places, the courses are free. It depends on the location, depends on the person. But worst case scenario, you had to pay full fees for the courses and you get 5 people on this, you're still going to come out with over 100,000. And you can do whatever you like with that 100. There's no requirement that you spend it on any specific thing. If you want to use it to hire more people, you can. If you want to use it to go on a holiday, or maybe not now, but you can. Now, on top of that, there are a whole lot of other incentives. I mentioned at the start that this unlocks different incentives. So it unlocks payroll tax rebates for anybody that's on the program. There are some state incentives. So most states will give you $4,000 if you put someone on Certificate 4, for example. That's an extra on top of that. If you're in Queensland and you hire someone who's under 25 and you're in regional Queensland particularly, or Logan, Ipswich, any of the kind of outlying parts of Brisbane, then if they've been unemployed for a little while and you hire someone under 25, you get an extra $20,000. If you're in Victoria at the moment and you add an extra person onto your workforce, if they're female over 45, you get another 20,000. If they're male over 45, you get another 10. If they're young, you get another 10. Anyway, there's a lot. So this is just the start of it. So this absolute basic, if you only got the 50% wage subsidy and you had to pay full fees for the courses and you put 5 people on, then you're going to come out with over $100,000. Now, if you've got a particular scenario that you would like me to look at, I said at the beginning, we've had a bunch more people join since I said it, but drop in, if you like, into the comments or the Q&A where you are and what industry you're in, and I'll give you some industry examples and some location examples. Also, feel free to fire in as many questions as you like, because I know this stuff gets a bit confusing when you don't actually live in this land like we do. So, some interesting statistics about what's been claimed so far. 60% of people who've claimed it so far are not traditional trades. There's certainly strong encouragement in the system for existing workers to put them on trade type qualifications, but there are a lot of other courses in the system as well that you can use. 40% are in small business at last. That's an improvement on how it started. 20% are for employees over 35 years old. So they're not just kids. Industries that have taken it up the fastest, construction, I guess, because they're set up for this already, they understand traineeships and apprenticeships and things. Accommodation and manufacturing have also been pretty fast. So the big hotel chains gobbled up a whole lot of it right at the beginning. But I'm glad to see that manufacturing is taking it too. So for anyone who's joined a bit late, because I know we've had a bunch of extra people join, the scheme is called Boosting Apprenticeship Commencements, but it's not just about apprentices. It's about how you can get a 50% wage subsidy by putting any of your people on an approved course. Interesting facts that I looked at, actually I've got an updated numbers, I should have added them in. There's about 180,000 jobs being advertised on Seek at the moment, and 50,000 or more of them are paying over 100,000 a year. So as you know, if you're an employer and trying to get staff at the moment, it's probably an employee's market, especially if they're skilled. So if you can take this $28,000 subsidy and use it to pay them a little bit more, then it's going to give you a chance of getting a good person. Got a question, is there a limit on the number of people that you can put on this? No, not at all. You can put as many people on as you like. So I would be strongly encouraging you that anybody new that you've hired since June and that you're going to hire until the end of March, you might as well put them on it. And then for the existing workers, there's more limited criteria, which I'll cover now. Hopefully this is making sense. If you can let me know if it is, it'll be good. So eligibility for existing employees is a little bit different to new employees. Let me just check the chat and see. Oh, thank you. I'm glad. I hope that was a yes to it's making sense. So existing employees, let me explain to you what they are first of all. So that's out of the rules there. So it says existing workers can only get the subsidy where they do one of three things. The first one on that list is that they start doing what they call a trades-based Australian apprenticeship. But there's a 13-page list of that, and it's not all just traditional trades. I'll explain that in one moment. But there are two other ways that you can get funding for your existing employees. If you've got casual staff and you are willing to turn them into part-timers or even full-timers, then you'll get the wage subsidy for them. Or if you've got part-timers and you make them full-time, then you'll get a wage subsidy. If they are already working for you, but they've been there less than 90 days, you'll get a wage subsidy. If they're part-time, but they've part-time for less than 12 months so far, then you'll get a wage subsidy even without changing them up to full-time. So I'm quite happy if you've got specific examples, either now or after this, if you want to run them by us and we can tell you, yes, you should be able to get it for them. No, you won't. But one of the ones that's been most valuable to people that we've been talking about is this casual to part-time situation. So I'm not going to give you industrial relations advice, but you probably know if you've got people on casuals and they're doing regular hours, they're probably going to get deemed to be part-time if they ever go to Fair Work anyway, and you'd end up having to pay them holiday pay or sick pay or whatever. So if you've got casuals that are regularly pretty much always doing 60 hours a month or more, so that's 15 hours a week or average, you could roll them into a part-time wage subsidy. So there's a requirement. I think Victoria's 13 hours, every other state requires 15 hours a week, but that's average. So you could do a big week one week, a small week another week. And to me, it's kind of a no-brainer. It's like if you can have them on casual and get no subsidy, or get them to do the same amount of hours as a part-timer and get 50% of it paid, then you're going to be considerably ahead. So for the existing workers, though, who don't meet and fall into that category, excuse me, croaky voice, so they are permanent, full-time, and have been with you 20 years or whatever, there is still a list of courses that you may be able to put them on to get the wage subsidy. It's basically Certificate 3 or Certificate 4 that is on this list called Appendix I, which we have a copy of. But the Appendix I list has got, you know, everything on it from dog grooming, cybersecurity, some IT courses, workplace health and safety, which most businesses need at least one person doing that. What else is on there? Oh, there's some specialty things, of course, like civil construction and, you know, concreting and pretty much anything that's kind of industrial trade related, manufacturing related, they're all on there. Here's just a little sample of an approved one. So that one was a Certificate 4 in Civil Construction Supervision, and you can see on the left about halfway down that they were an existing worker. So they'd been there for quite a long time and they've been approved to get funded for this. Excuse me, I'll just get rid of my croaky voice. I think I've been talking too much this week. Okay, a couple of examples of courses that you could do for existing workers. If you've got someone who's working in health and safety or in HR, then you can do, oh, my voice, I'm sorry, people. Then you can do Certificate 4 in workplace health and safety. All right, I give up. You're just going to have to let me croak through it. So Certificate 4 Work Health and Safety is an approved course for existing workers, no matter how long they have worked for you. The only thing is they have to be in a job where they have some responsibility for safety. So you can't go stick 30 bartenders on it or something like that. But if you've got someone who's an HR or is an admin or a supervisor or something, and they're looking after safety or they're developing safety policies, then they are eligible for this. So, and you could do a dual qualification. So you could do safety plus business or safety plus leadership or something like that. Now, for new employees, there are all sorts of different courses that you can do for them. I've just put a few examples up there. You could do entrepreneurship, business, project management, HR, leadership, but there's all sorts of other specialty courses too that you could look at. We were looking at one the other day, I think, with the guys for a concreting company, and we found like a Certificate 2 in, you know, operating the agitator truck and mixing cement and stuff like that. So if you've got people in particular jobs, then at the end you can let us know what they are and we'll figure them out for you. Now, most states have funding for at least some of these courses that are on the list. This is where it gets a little bit complex, and this is where you might choose to get us to help you if you want to. You need to check, first of all, that the course is approved at a federal level for this wage subsidy. So they've got a list of what they've approved. Then you need to check that it's approved at the state level, that the state's allowing traineeships in that course, which is the way that this is being administered. Then you want to check that the state, whether they've got any funding for the course, whether you have to pay fees for it or whether the government's going to pay for it. In New South Wales, for example, for new workers, pretty much the government will pay for all their courses. If you are going part-time to full-time, there's little quirks like, it doesn't matter how long they've been part-time. If you go full-time, you'll always get the wage subsidy, but you may not get the free course depending on which state you're in. There's some extra funding in Queensland. If you're in construction, for example, you'll get course subsidy. There's all kinds of extra bits and pieces. So you basically need to go and match up the lists of, you know, state-approved courses, federal-approved courses, state-approved funding, and state-approved training providers that can access that funding. Put those 4 lists together and you will end up figuring out what you can claim. Now, before you claim, I'll just take you through the steps. This slide, I will take you through the steps of what you need to do. You can just, this is where you can just follow these and do it yourself, or we can help you. But I will explain to you what's involved so that you have a choice. Now, before you claim, okay, so the first thing you do is figure out what courses suit your business and what courses are suitable to the state that you're in. Figure out what any new staff that you want to take on and any skills that you might want them to have. So there might be, I know we were doing some stuff for some real estate agents the other day where they needed them to get their real estate license. But one of the things with this wage subsidy is you get paid it for 12 months as long as they're studying for the whole 12 months. So what we suggested to them is that they go and do the real estate certificate really quickly, and then they do a 12-month Certificate 3 or Certificate 4 in business so that they get the wage subsidy as well. So you can combine things like that. Look at your existing staff and see who you might want to upskill. Obviously, they need to choose to do it. You can't force people to do this, and it's actually against the rules of the program to force them, but you can really encourage people. It's a great opportunity for them to get a bit more qualified and for you to get the subsidy. check that the qualifications that the staff you've chosen meet the criteria. Make sure you've got someone to supervise them. That's why sole traders are not eligible, because it's being administered under the traineeship system. There does need to be somebody in the workplace more senior than that person who can sign off and say, yes, they're competent at this, they're trained. Find out about the other incentives, state-based incentives, and make sure that you're lined up to claim those. And there are a number of them that have limits, like either 90 days after the person starts work for you. The Queensland one for under 25s is actually 84 days after they start, so that's 12 weeks. We had someone just the other day who was like literally, I think, 4 or 5 days late in starting the process, and they missed out on the 28,000 and the 20,000 from Queensland, so that was pretty sad. So the only thing I would encourage you to do really, really urgently out of today is anybody that you've had start work with you from June onwards, make sure that you quickly investigate what they can claim before the deadline, because once the deadline's been and gone, you can't backdate it. Choose a training provider, find ones that have got funding and choose one that's good. And good for you could be a couple of different things. Good might be, I want someone who's going to do the minimum amount of training the quickest as possible. Not that I'm suggesting that, but I'm not judging either. Or good might be, I want someone who's going to train them really thoroughly and they're going to come out with more skills. So there are, as we know, in training organisation land, there are a range of providers who are focused on anything from being fast and getting them through quickly to giving them thorough training, and you choose what suits your business. Then you get what they call an ASIN. They're a government-funded organisation. They'll come and actually sign the person up and start the paperwork for you, organise a sign-up and lodge your wage claim, and then lodge your claim for the other incentives. So if you want to, we can help with most of it. And we won't charge you unless you get any money. That's important. So the easy part is actually claiming the wage subsidy. So once you've done all that stuff on the previous slide, then at the end of each quarter, you'll get sent a reminder from the apprenticeship centre, the ASIN. You just fill in a little online form, tick a box to say, yes, the person's still working for me, upload their pay slips, and then you get a copy of the money in your bank account, usually in the next 14 days. They are a little bit slow at the moment as an employer, I'm saying. I finally just got paid one that was well overdue. But if you give them a little nudge, then they tend to hurry up and do it. Now, we're nearly at the end, so if you have any questions, please drop them in. I feel like I've gone through this really fast, so I hope that I have clarified. Couple of questions that come up a lot, let me just cover those, and then I'll just talk about a way that we can help you that won't cost you anything upfront. If you've been wondering what happens if they, as somebody very nicely said the other day, my employees are a bit thick. But if your employees, what if they fail the course? It's fine. You still get paid. You don't have to pay it back if they fail. As long as they're chipping away at it, like if they completely drop out, then you stop getting paid. But as long as they are chipping away and attempting to do the qualification, then you will still continue to get paid. If they leave partway through, you get paid up until the day they leave, and then you can, if it's before March, you can put someone else on and start the 12-month clock all over again. Is it going to take lots of time? No, your supervisors just need to supervise and sign off. If different training providers have different requirements in terms of how much work they need to do during work time versus in their own time. Generally, I'd be recommending training providers to you that give them very practical stuff to do on the job. So it's going to be useful rather than extra add-on things. Got a good question here. Let me just read this one. Can the manager or CFO do the workplace health and safety course? Will they be eligible? Probably yes, Sabah, as long as they're not a director. So directors and shareholders can't do them, but managers definitely can if they are responsible for safety, which presumably they are. So yes, most of the companies that we're working with are putting at least one person on the safety course, because in this current pandemic, people working from home, COVID safe plans, like you need someone in your business who's running workplace health and safety. So they probably can, as long as they don't own the company, is the answer. Thank you. So how much money can our business save? I think I missed it. Is there a cap on how many people can claim for the 28,000? No, you can claim 28,000 for every single one of your new employees, because there will be a course that you can put them on. And any of your existing employees that are eligible for the courses that are on that list called Appendix I, which covers trades, IT courses, safety courses, a bunch of other sort of dog grooming, a bunch of other specific things. Now, what I suggest that you do, now that I've probably confused everybody, is if you get us to help, we're doing it with a no risk guarantee. So basically, you don't pay us anything unless you get approved, and you still don't pay us anything until you receive your first quarterly payment, because we don't want to adversely impact your cash flow. So if we get you approved and you start getting paid, then you just pay us 10% of what it is that we managed to claim for you. My suggestion would be that this bureaucracy is not your core business. What we're finding with most businesses at the moment is that you're either busy because business is booming or busy because of the opposite. But most business owners and managers are flat out at the moment, one way or another. There's really not much in between in these times, is there? It's either crazy busy, but in a good way, or disastrous. So you're welcome to do this yourself. And hopefully I've given you enough today that you can. However, I do keep running into people whose applications have been rejected for sort of stupid things, like they've coded them wrong. When you go through, you've got to put their occupation code and the course code and all this and get it right. Or they've been given bad advice about how to lodge the claim, especially for existing workers, things like the health and safety course and the IT courses. The ASINs, the apprenticeship centres who sign people up, will say, oh, we can do this for you for free. The problem is they get a lot rejected because they've got a lot of new staff. And I don't mean that at all to be critical of the ASINs. They're really, really good. But we had someone the other day who said, oh, you've turned your casuals into part-timers. You can't do it. And the ASIN actually declined it. And we went back and said, no, look, read the rules, you can. And he was like, oh, sorry, I didn't realise. So that happens occasionally. We've had probably 3 or 4 of those in the last few weeks. So what I would suggest that you do is that you get us to do all the setup, like your accountant would have done for JobKeeper if you're eligible. And then once a quarter, all you need to do is upload your pay slips. You just carry on with your core business. When the first grant money hits your account, you forward 10% of the approved amount to us. You just keep the rest and carry on doing what you do best, which is presumably not managing all of this stuff. Now, we have a couple of questions. Let me just check those if we go to the end. How can I apply? Okay, so what I suggest you do, Saba, is that if you want to shoot us an email, and anyone else who wants to start, we can do a pre-assessment for you. So the first step is that we'll just do a quick assessment of your eligibility. We can email you a form to give us the information that we need. We just need some information about your employees, how many you've got, what they do, whether they're casuals, all that sort of thing, full-timers, when they started. We can interview you over the phone if that's easier and just gather that information, whatever's going to be quicker for you. And then after that, then you can make a decision of whether you want to proceed and whether you want to do it yourself or whether you want to get us to help. So if it's a really simple one, we'll just tell you and say, look, you don't need us. Just go and tell them you want to sign up an apprentice carpenter and go get the money. But if it's more complex and we know that you'll be better off to get us to do it, then we'll tell you that as well. So if you just email my colleague Alyssa on the screen there, alyssaw@sagestrategy.com.au, and just ask her for the pre-assessment form and she will email it out to you, or ask her to give you a call and she will give you a call and help you fill it out. Actually, Rachel has just dropped in the chat if anyone wants to grab it. There's a link there, a form. If you want to start filling out the form yourself, that's fine. Just grab that out of the chat before we finish the webinar, which is going to be in a couple of minutes. And Alyssa's just dropped her phone number in the chat too, if you want to just give her a call, 0451 733 418. If you don't manage to grab that link from the chat in time before we hang out, then we can email it out to you anyway. So that is just about it from me. If anybody has any last minute questions, then please pop them in or email them to us at Alyssa's email. Otherwise, I hope that was helpful. It is such a good opportunity and so many people don't know about it, or so many people think they know about it. And they go, oh, no, it doesn't apply to me. I haven't got any apprentices or whatever. It's like, it's not about apprentices and it's not about 18-year-olds. You could put your 45-year-old manager on a health and safety course or a leadership diploma or something like that. So please, if you start Googling it, don't be put off by some of the language, because it's all apprenticeship language, but apprenticeship is a term for authorised government accredited course that you can get a wage subsidy for in this context. So all the best, everybody. I hope it goes well. Feel free to message us if we can help you at all. If you do it yourself, good luck. Let me know if you do it yourself and you do get the wage subsidy. But I'd suggest that you get us to do a quick preview review of it anyway, even if you are deciding to do it yourself, because it's no skin off your nose, and then at least we'll be able to point you in the right direction. So thank you for coming, and have a good Thursday, and hopefully we're finished in time for you to go and watch whatever press conferences are left to watch. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.